I'm recording this class right now. So we're going to begin this journey today. We will be having up to um, we'll be having up to 5 weeks. That's from today. Today is just the introductory part, so we might not take much of um, will not take much of the time today. We'll just look at the introduction to SQL, and then next week, same time, we are going to look further into um, a detailed scale of what SQL is. We're going to also start looking at how we can write scripts and we can write queries to analyze our data. So, as I said, the class is divided into 5 different modules. For today, we'll be looking at introduction to SQL, and we'll be looking at databases, and then we'll be looking at introduction to MySQL Workbench, which is the tool we'll be using for our analysis. Then we will be looking at basic SQL queries, and then we call it off for today. So this is the material I'm having right now, and we're just going to follow this material. It's not much, and it's something we already have gone through. We've already known over time during our data journey, or maybe before our data journey. So we're going to just look at it right now. So the first thing we'll be doing is we already know what data is. Um we don't have to go in depth, or we don't have to waste time to talk more on this. We already know what data is, and then data as a raw unorganized facts and figures. Example could be numbers, text, images, sounds, and videos. So when you look at why data matters, data is the foundation for decision making, and we use data to be able to drive insight and then make decisions from it. And it helps us understand the world around us. With the data we have, or with the data that is at hand, we'll be able to understand what's going on around us in the world. Maybe we want to know the population of each country in the world. We're going to know that through data. Then it's a field for analysis and insight. This is self-explanatory. With data, we can be able to carry out analysis and then draw out insights. Then there are types of data already. I know you might not have treated this in Power BI and Excel, but there are basically three types of data for SQL. So we have the structured data, which is in the form of our Excel or the spreadsheet that we normally have. It is neatly organized into tables, and these tables has rows and columns. So unstructured data, it doesn't actually fit into a predefined format. So this data comes mostly in the forms of email, social media posts, and images. So when someone makes a post on social media, or someone makes a comment on social media, this post are stored in a data in a data form, and these data are normally called unstructured data. It could also be information collected from user, like a site could collect information from you, maybe your name, your surname, your phone number, your country, your date of birth, and all this. This data can be collected and stored in unstructured manner. Then the next, or the last type of data we'll be looking at, is the semi-structured data. This contains some organized, but not as a grid structure as structured data. So it contains both the structure and the unstructured data all together. It's mixed. It's a mixed collection of data. So this data is mostly seen in JSON and XML file. Mostly will not be going into the tat. I mean, the the third type of data, simply because it doesn't actually um, affect our SQL for data analytics. If you're going into maybe data science or something big or data engineering, you can maybe be able to read this semi-structured data. So the next thing we'll be looking at databases. So our data are being when our data are being collected, you know, Excel on its own, it's just a tool whereby you can input data, delete data, add data, edit data, and do other things. But if you actually want to store data, you want to collect data from users, um, a database is the best place to do that. So, what is a database? A database is just an organized collection of structured data. Um, just as I was talking about types of data, that's in structured data, unstructured data, and semi-structured data. A database mostly hold organized data or structured data. So just like our, our spreadsheet or our Excel, a database is structured data. So think of it like a well-organized filing cabinet. Let's see, just like a library, maybe assume assume it as a library. A library is a place whereby library contains shelf where books are stored. So just that's just how this database is. And these books are stored in shelves, and each shelf is having an index or is having a name. So just like that, that's how a database is. So if you ask why database, why do we use database? So we mostly use database to efficiently store and manage large amount of data. If you have a large amount of data, um, your Excel is limited. You might not be able to use Excel to collect much data, or you can't enter data manually. So when you collect data, you are most likely to store this data in databases. So it enables easy retrieval and manipulation of data. We're going to be treating this in our other classes. So you can be able to retrieve data and then manipulate this data to get insight. So the third thing is to maintain data integrity and security. So data in Excel is not actually secured because anyone can enter your laptop right now and then be able to click on your data and be able to see everything in your data. But then with SQL or with database, you can be able to secure your data with passwords, username, and you can be able to get a good level of security in your database. So there are types of database, and basically there are just two types of database. There are other types which we might not be treating it at all, which is the other types, which is graph database and document. So the types of data is we have relational database, which is the MySQL, there's Progress, there's Oracle, and others too. So there's no SQL database which consists of the Mongo database, the Cassandra, and so. So this relational database on tables, it pulls data on tables which are related to each other. That's where the name comes from. They are related. So take for instance like your name. Let's say you're a student right now, and a student has a record. This student has a name, he has a surname, and other related information like age, sex, matric number, and other things. So mostly this kind of data are stored in MySQL Oracle. And this relational database use structured query language, which is the SQL, to interact with the data. So the NoSQL database is this Mongo database, and Mongo database handle only unstructured data or the semi-structured data. So that's just the types of databases. And then the next thing we'll be looking at is database management system. So a database management system, you will have to think of it like a tool, just as I mentioned earlier, like Postgres, MySQL Workbench, Azure, that's Microsoft Azure, and other um, management systems. So what is a data management system? This is a software that manages and controls our database. So it's just like a tool for analysis and storing data, for collecting data and other things. So it's a bridge between the database and the user. So take for instance, this is strictly for web developers. When web developers are building a solution to collect users' information, and then you are registering to this solution, they are collecting your name, maybe your email, you are putting a password, right? So if you put this name, you input your password and your email, they are going to collect it automatically and store them on a database. And then each time you want to log into that solution or you want to log into that system, you are going to um when you enter the information will be checked through the database. So that's just it's like a link between you and the database. And then the key functions of a database is you can use it to create, modify, and delete databases and different tables. Then you can manage access of data. That's for data security, as I said earlier. Like your SQL, if you had um if you had gone through the installation of the workbench, you should be able to see maybe it was actually requesting you for a username and password. So that's just how secure a database management system is. So it ensures data integrity, which is self-explained. Then it provides a query language like SQL for interaction. So that's what we'll be treating in our subsequent classes. So right now, let's look at SQL proper. So unlike Power BI and Excel, or maybe Tableau and other um, tools or other platforms, SQL is completely different. You might like to compare it to Python because it consists of writing codes or writing queries, and even though in Python you can say codes, but in SQL you can call it queries or scripts. Then, an SQL, that's the SQL. Some people prefer to call it SQL, but I call it SQL like just in full. So it simply means structured query language. So it's a standard language for interacting with relational database. So in data analytics, we are going to use SQL to extract, manipulate, and analyze data from our databases. It's crucial for data analyst to understand how to efficiently query this database and retrieve meaningful insights through this tool or this language. So um, SQL in data analytics, which is what we're going to be looking next, and I think it's the last for this material. So SQL is essential for extracting meaningful insights from data. When you have your data set right now, or you collect your data set from users, you can simply use this tool or you can use this query language to be able to extract meaningful insights from this data. You can gather data from multiple tables. When collecting data from users, or let's say you collect data from users, you can divide these data into um, a table whereby, let's take for example, as a student right now, your records would not be stored on the same table. simply because once you register with the school is